Welcome back, listener. We're diving deep today into the SCP Foundation,
Ah, yes.
if you're not
A
familiar.
fascinating organization.
It's fictional but dedicated to documenting and containing
Anomalies.
things that break the laws of nature, basically.
What's so intriguing is how they present these anomalies.
Right.
Like you're reading a scientific report,
Very clinical.
but then there's these glimpses of just sheer terror of the unknown,
Lurking just beneath the surface.
of our everyday world.
It's X-Files meets, like,
A super detailed...
Rat Report.
Precisely.
The anomaly we're diving into today.
Oh, this is a good one.
SCP-003. This object.
With two components.
And they're both wild. Let's,
Start with the first.
Yes.
SCP-003-1.
Okay.
Basically, a living computer.
A living computer.
Imagine a motherboard,
Okay.
but instead of silicon and wires,
Yeah.
it's made of organic material.
Organic.
Things like chitin, hair, nails,
Oh.
arranged in these intricate circuits.
That's already pretty wild.
But here's the crazy part.
Okay.
This circuitry predates anything we know about by thousands of years.
No way.
It's ancient.
So we've got this, like, ancient biocomputer
Yeah.
sitting in a lab somewhere. What's the big deal?
The big deal is that SCP-0031,
Yeah.
it's not passive.
What do you mean?
It can grow, it can change, and if its temperature drops below 35 degrees Celsius,
Uh-oh.
it enters this crazy growth state.
Growth state. Like, what kind of growth?
Imagine a computer virus,
Okay, I'm with you.
but instead of corrupting data, it consumes matter
Consumes matter.
and mimics living organisms.
That is a threat.
That's what we're dealing with here.
Consuming matter. So, like, my coffee cup, the desk in front of me.
At first, it seems to target
Yeah.
inorganic material,
Okay.
like metals and minerals,
I see.
but it doesn't stop there.
Oh, no.
It moves on to non-living organic matter,
Like?
like dead skin, hair, even chitin keratin.
Oh, wow.
Basically anything it can.
Get its...
Let's just say its tendrils on.
Okay, yeah. That's getting creepy. And I heard it gets weirder
Oh, yeah.
when it encounters something living, right?
Much weirder.
It doesn't just consume, it, like,
It starts copying
copy.
and templating itself off of the organism.
Oh, whoa.
That's the second stage of its growth.
Oh, boy.
That's where things get really unsettling.
I bet.
You can almost think of it like a virus,
Okay.
replicating itself
Right.
and adapting to whatever life form it contacts.
Yes.
But the really intriguing part,
Yeah.
it tries to communicate with those organisms too.
It traced... What?
Like it's trying to understand them
Understand.
on some fundamental level.
So this ancient biocomputer wants to have a chat. I don't know if I'd be up for that conversation.
It's certainly a unique form of communication.
But wait, you said there were two components to this thing.
That's right.
What about the other part?
Ah, yes. SCP-0032. This is the stone tablet
Okay.
that SCP-00031 was discovered on.
Uh-huh.
It's covered in these glowing runes.
Glowing runes.
And while we don't understand the language,
Yeah.
it seems to act as a containment unit for SCP-0031.
A containment unit.
Think of it like a high-tech safe,
Okay.
but ancient.
Ancient and made of stone.
Exactly.
So someone or something built this tablet
Yeah,
specifically to control this biocomputer.
it would seem so.
Talk about a responsible AI developer, huh?
Quite a contrast to some of the concerns we have today.
But why would they even need to contain it in the first place?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
I'm listening.
SCP-0032 is powered
Yes.
by its own internal computer system.
Another one.
Not biological like SCP-0031, but still incredibly advanced.
Wow.
The problem is,
Mm-hmm.
this power source has been steadily draining for centuries.
Draining?
Like it was deliberately designed to fail.
Deliberately. Why would anyone do that? Seems incredibly reckless.
It does, doesn't it?
Especially with something as potentially dangerous as SCP-0031. I mean, imagine if this thing broke free.
A chilling thought, isn't it?
For sure.
And it gets worse.
Uh-oh. What's worse?
The SCP Foundation has managed to extract some data from SCP-003-2.
And
It hints at a catastrophic event,
catastrophic.
a world-altering restructuring
A
event
restructuring event.
that SCP-003-1 might be capable of triggering.
So let me get this straight.
Good.
We've got this ancient biocomputer that
Mhm.
can grow and adapt,
Yes.
by consuming matter,
Yes.
trapped in a containment unit
Right.
that's slowly losing power
That's right.
and might be connected to some kind of global apocalypse.
It does paint a rather grim picture.
That is a lot to take in.
It is. And you have to remember,
What's that?
the SCP Foundation,
Yeah.
despite their mission to contain these anomalies,
Mm-hmm.
they're also driven by a thirst for knowledge.
Right. They're scientists at heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want to understand these things,
Yeah.
even if it means pushing the boundaries of safety.
I see where you're going with this. They formed a whole research team.
They did.
MO3 Gloria.
Specifically to study SCP-003.
But their experiments, while insightful,
Yes.
actually accelerated the power drain of SCP-003 too.
A classic case of the observer effect, perhaps.
It's a delicate balance. You want to learn as much as you can
Of course.
to prevent a potential catastrophe.
Really.
But every experiment, every interaction,
It risks making things worse
a constant dilemma.
for the Foundation, and perhaps for humanity as a whole.
And it reminds me of the whole debate about artificial intelligence in our world.
Oh, how so?
You know, the idea that we might create something
Yes,
that we can't control,
that we can't control yet.
something that could ultimately threaten
An
humanity.
all too real possibility.
The SCP Foundation, in many ways, it's a
Mhm.
cautionary tale
A cautionary tale.
about the dangers of tampering with forces we don't fully understand,
A fictional organization, yes, but
the questions it raises.
they are all too real.
So SCP-003, it's like a ticking time bomb.
A ticking time bomb.
And we don't even know
We don't.
what will happen when it goes off. But
Mhm.
I have a feeling there's more to this story.
Oh, there's much more to uncover. Especially about that containment breach you mentioned.
We're going to have to dive into that next time.
Until then, listener, keep those questions coming.
And stay curious.
So, that containment breach,
Yeah.
one of the most unnerving events in SCP-003's file.
You know what's really interesting about it?
What's that?
It's not just a simple escape.
Right.
It didn't just bust out of its containment cell and
Uh-huh.
start wreaking havoc.
It didn't.
It actually took on a specific form,
It did.
a 3-meter-tall female humanoid.
Interesting.
Why would it do that?
Well, some researchers believe
Yeah.
it was SCP-0031's way of bridging the communication gap.
The communication gap.
Remember, it had already templated itself
Oh, right, yeah.
off of the
It's
researchers.
like its growth phase. So maybe taking on a human-like appearance
Yeah.
was its attempt to
become more understandable.
more understandable.
less alien.
Like it's trying to meet us halfway.
In a sense, yes.
But what did it actually communicate?
That's where it gets even more complicated.
Okay.
There were some basic vocalizations,
Mm-hmm.
but the real communication
Yeah.
seemed to happen on a different level,
Different level.
almost like a telepathic link.
Oh.
It bombarded the researchers with images, sounds, feelings,
Wow.
sensory experiences that go beyond our normal human perception.
That's intense. It's like trying to explain colors to someone who's been blind their whole life.
We're describing music
Yeah.
to someone who's completely deaf.
Exactly.
The researchers who were exposed
Yeah.
described it as completely overwhelming,
Overwhelming.
even traumatic.
Hey, Holly.
One researcher, Dr. Tilda Moose,
Oh, right.
she led the MO3 Gloria team.
Okay.
She was able to withstand the mental onslaught
Withstand.
a little longer than the others. She believes SCP-0031 was trying to share
Share.
its vision of the world,
Its vision.
its idea of a paradise
the paradise.
that it wanted to create for humanity.
But how could something that doesn't understand human emotions,
Right.
that can consume and replicate living matter,
Yeah.
possibly create something
Well,
we'd consider a paradise?
that's the truly unsettling part.
Okay.
Dr. Moose describes the images she saw as beautiful,
Beautiful.
awe-inspiring,
The
but utterly alien.
alien. Huh.
Imagine the most stunning landscape you've ever seen,
Okay.
but then distort it, fracture it,
Fracture.
until it becomes both familiar
Familiar.
and deeply disturbing.
Oh, wow.
That's the closest we can get
Yeah.
to understanding SCP-0031's vision.
So it's like this entity wants to help us
It seems that way.
to create a utopia,
Perhaps.
but it's doing so from a perspective that's
Yeah.
so fundamentally different from our own
Different.
that the results could be catastrophic.
Catastrophic, yes.
It's almost a benevolent threat.
The benevolent, yes.
Does that make sense?
And it highlights the ethical tightrope
Yeah.
the SCP Foundation is constantly walking.
Right.
Their mission is to contain these anomalies,
Right.
But they also have this insatiable drive
To
to understand them,
understand,
even if it means pushing the boundaries of safety,
pushing the boundary.
even if it means risking a potential disaster.
And remember,
Yeah.
their research actually sped up the power drain of SCP-00032.
That's right.
So in their quest for knowledge,
Uh-huh.
they might be making the very catastrophe they're trying to prevent
It's possible.
more likely.
It's a heavy burden to bear.
It is. And it makes you wonder,
Wonder what?
is there a point where the pursuit of knowledge becomes too dangerous?
That's a question philosophers have grappled with for centuries.
Is there a line we shouldn't cross?
A line.
Even in the name of protecting humanity.
It's a difficult question
It is.
with no easy answer.
And those questions become even more complicated
Ooh, how so?
when you consider the human element within the Foundation itself.
The human element.
Remember that mysterious individual
Yes.
who tried to communicate with SCP-0031 during the breach?
During the breach, yes.
The one claiming to have orders
Orders?
from a high-ranking O5 council member.
Intriguing.
That incident adds a whole new dimension to this story.
A new dimension.
Was this person a rogue agent?
A rogue agent?
Or is there something more going on within the Foundation?
Something more.
Some hidden agenda.
A hidden agenda.
Some internal conflict that we're not privy to.
A possibility we can't ignore.
It's like a conspiracy within a conspiracy.
Conspiracies within conspiracy.
And it makes you question the Foundation's motives.
Question their motives.
Are they truly unified in their mission to
Uniform.
contain these anomalies?
To contain them, yes.
Or are there factions within the organization,
Factions.
each with their own goal,
Their own goals.
each willing to take risks
Risks.
that could have devastating consequences for the rest of us?
Devastating consequences, yes.
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
But let's shift gears for a moment.
Shift gears.
We've talked a lot about SCP-0031 and its abilities.
We have
But what about SCP-0032?
the stone tablet.
Yeah, the stone tablet.
What about it?
Specifically, those glowing runes
The rooms
that cover its surface.
that cover its surface, right?
What do we know about them?
Well, they don't correspond to any known language,
They don't.
but the patterns they form, the way they flicker and change.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're communicating something.
Communicating.
The Foundation linguists
Right.
believe they represent some kind of visual language,
Visual language.
reflecting the internal processes of the tablet itself.
So like a status update.
A status update.
A way for us to monitor what's going on inside.
Precisely.
Have we managed to decipher any of the patterns?
Decipher the patterns.
Understand what they mean.
There have been some breakthroughs, enough to draw connections
Connect.
between SCP-003
Uh-huh.
and another highly classified SCP object.
Another SCP object.
But a lot of the research,
Yeah.
a lot of the key findings,
What about them?
they're redacted in the document.
Redacted.
Redacted.
Now that's frustrating,
Frustrating, yeah.
but also kind of intriguing.
Intriguing.
What could be so sensitive,
Sensitive.
so potentially dangerous,
Dangerous.
that the Foundation has blacked it out entirely?
It's a question that begs to be answered.
Maybe the redacted information reveals
Reveals
the true nature of the catastrophic
the
event.
catastrophic event.
SCP-0031 is connected to,
Possibly.
or maybe it sheds light on the object's origins.
The object's origins.
That where it came from.
Where it came from, yeah.
Who or what created it.
Who or what created it, right?
Or maybe it's both. Perhaps the origins of SCP-003
The origins.
are directly tied to the potential catastrophe it represents.
An intriguing hypothesis.
Think about it.
I am.
They've got this incredibly advanced biocomputer trapped in a failing containment unit
Right.
built by someone or something we don't understand.
We don't.
And now we have this cryptic visual language.
Cryptic visual language.
And that might hold the key to understanding the whole thing.
It's a puzzle box.
a puzzle box.
And we're only just beginning to glimpse the pieces.
But even with the limited information we have,
Limited information yet.
it's clear that SCP-003 is more than just a dangerous object.
More than just a dangerous object, right?
It represents a fundamental challenge
A challenge.
to our understanding of the world,
Our understanding of the world.
a glimpse into a reality
The glimpse
where the impossible becomes all too real.
where the impossible becomes real.
And it forces us to ask some uncomfortable questions.
Uncomfortable question.
What are the limits of human knowledge?
the limits of human knowledge?
How far should we go?
How far should we go?
in our pursuit of understanding,
The pursuit of understanding.
especially when that understanding
On that understanding, yes.
could have devastating consequences.
Devastating consequences.
These are questions that go beyond the scope of the SCP Foundation.
Beyond the scope.
They're questions that humanity has grappled with for centuries.
For centuries, yes.
But SCP-003 brings them into sharp focus,
Sharp out that.
forcing us to confront the possibility
The possibility.
that our reality is far more complex,
Far more complex
far more fragile
That's real.
than we ever imagined.
than we ever imagined, yes.
And listener, as we delve deeper
Deeper.
into the mysteries of SCP-003's containment breach
The containment breach.
and the secrets hidden within those glowing runes,
The glowing runes.
we're going to keep those questions front and center.
Front and center.
Because in the world of the SCP Foundation,
Yes.
knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
But it's also a double-edged sword,
A double-edged sword.
one that can cut both ways.
That can cut both ways, yes.
Welcome back to our deep dive into SCP-003.
Back again.
We've uncovered so much about this strange object.
We have-
From its bioorganic computer component
Right.
to the cryptic runes on that stone tablet.
The runes.
But there are still some big questions looming,
Big questions.
especially when it comes to that potential restructuring event.
Oh, yes.
SCP-0031 might trigger.
It's a phrase that just sends shivers down your spine,
It does.
doesn't it? A
It-
world-altering event.
Yeah,
Orchestrated by something that doesn't even see the world the way we do.
right.
What do you think it could mean, listener? What kind of restructuring?
It's hard to wrap my head around. We're
Right.
talking about something that can manipulate matter
Yeah.
at a fundamental level.
At a fundamental level.
Something that can absorb and replicate living organisms.
A flock to process.
Could it be talking about a mass extinction event?
A mass extinction event.
Or maybe a complete transformation of Earth's ecosystems?
Those are possibilities.
Yeah.
But we have to remember what Dr. Moose gleaned
From that.
from that brief, terrifying connection
Right, yeah.
with SCP-003-1.
Yeah.
It wasn't driven by malice.
It wasn't.
It wanted to create
It wanted to create
a paradise.
paradise.
Perhaps the restructuring event,
Yeah.
as disturbing as it sounds,
Yeah.
is its way of achieving that goal,
Achieving that goal, but
just not in a way
not in a way.
that aligns with our human understanding of
A
paradise.
forced utopia.
A forced utopia.
A world reshaped according to the whims
The whims
of an alien intelligence
that doesn't understand
that doesn't understand our needs,
our desires.
our capacity for suffering.
A chilling prospect.
It is, and it brings us back to that central question.
What's that?
Can we even stop it?
Can we stop it?
If the Foundation's research is actually accelerating
accelerating.
the power drain of SCP-00032,
Right.
are we just hastening the inevitable?
Hastening the inevitable.
That's the real dilemma, isn't it?
It is a dilemma.
The Foundation's attempts to understand SCP-003-1,
To understand it.
to find a way to control it,
To control it.
might be making the situation even more precarious.
Then precarious, yeah.
It's like trying to disarm a bomb,
Okay.
but every time you try to cut a wire,
Yeah.
you realize there's another one underneath,
Another one.
even more volatile than the last.
Or volatile, yeah.
And we can't forget about that unknown individual
The unknown individual.
who tried to communicate with SCP-0031
Right.
during the containment breach.
Containment breach.
Was this person acting alone?
Acting alone.
Or are there factions within the Foundation itself?
Actions.
Groups with different agendas?
Different agendas.
Perhaps even willing to risk
The risk of...
a global restructuring event
Wow.
to achieve their goal.
It's a level of complexity.
I know.
It's almost dizzying.
We have this enigmatic object, SCP-003,
SCP-003.
a bioorganic computer
Oh,
with
no.
reality-bending capabilities,
Elegant.
trapped in a failing containment unit.
Failing.
We have researchers racing against time
Racing
to understand it,
to understand it.
possibly making things worse in the process.
Making things worse, yeah.
And then we have this shadow of doubt
A shadow of doubt.
cast over the Foundation itself.
Over the Foundation,
Very
the
good.
possibility of internal conflicts
Internal conflicts.
and hidden agendas that could threaten us all.
It's a reminder, listener,
What's that?
that even the most dedicated organizations,
Yeah.
the ones tasked with protecting us from the unknown,
Protect them.
they're still made up of people.
people.
People with their own flaws,
There's
their own
no-
biases,
Biases.
their own desires.
So what are we left with?
What are we left with?
What can we take away?
What can we take away?
From this deep dive into the world of SCP-003,
A lot to ponder.
I think, for me, it's a sense of awe and terror.
Awe and terror.
Awe at the sheer scale of what we don't know.
What we don't know.
At the possibility of intelligences so different from our own.
So different.
Existing just beyond our perception.
Beyond our perception.
And terror at what those intelligences might be capable of.
Capable of, yeah.
At the ways in which our own actions,
Our own actions.
even with the best of intentions,
Best intentions.
could unleash forces beyond our control.
Our control, that's right.
It's a lot.
It is.
And if I could add one more layer to that,
Please do.
it would be a call to humility.
Humility.
SCP-003 reminds us that we are not the masters of the universe.
We are not
We are part of a complex system,
the complex system.
a web of interconnectedness
Interconnectedness.
that we are only beginning to
Right at the
understand.
beginning.
And sometimes the best way to protect ourselves
The best way.
is not through force or control,
Force or control.
but through understanding,
Understanding.
empathy,
And a willingness to acknowledge
to acknowledge
that we don't have all the answers.
we don't.
So as we conclude this deep dive
This deep dive
into SCP-003,
into SCP-003.
we leave you with this thought.
Okay.
The world is a strange and wondrous place,
Strange and wondrous.
full of mysteries
Mystery,
that challenge our perceptions
our perception,
and push us to the limits of our understanding.
the limits.
Keep exploring,
Keep questioning.
questioning, and keep your mind open
Over the possibility.
to the possibilities.
No matter how unsettling they may seem.
Unsettling.
Because in the face of the unknown,
The unknown,
the only true failure
the only failure.
is to stop asking questions.
That's right.